Hey, this is Daniel Grove, and in this video, I'm going to do something different that I've wanted to do for a long time now. It's going to be an edit along video where I edit through a photo shoot and talk about what I'm doing, teach you some tricks and techniques along the way, explain some other photographic stuff, and hopefully you'll pick up some helpful tips and at the very least, some inspiration for your own work. So in this photo shoot, I did a series of headshot mini shoots in a studio over the course of one evening. These are all back-to-back 30-minute photo shoots. A few of them were 1-hour sessions. I've already culled them, which means I've used the star rating system, and my 4-star photos are the final best of the best that I'll actually be spending time on editing and be delivering, because that's what my client paid for. They didn't pay for every single photo I took. They paid for my best work, and that's what I'm going to give them. So here's a final selection of all the 4-star photos, and I have not edited these at all. I think I might have done minor adjustments on 2 of these. Like this one, I actually edited early. She needed it really quick, so I sent that over, but the rest of these have not been touched. So these are basically straight out of camera. So let's start with these 2. These are high key photos, which means the background is white and it's overall a bright and happy feel. Common for fashion. I felt with her deep blue, a white background would be great. Now I just noticed the blues look very different here. I can fix that, I'm pretty sure, but let's edit them together because they're generally the same exposure and the same setup. So with them both selected in the library module, they're both selected there. I'm going to make sure my sync switch is turned on down here. Oh, it's not. Turn it on. Now when I press D for develop module, I can edit either one, and the other one will be instantly edited, right? So if I drop this exposure, go to the other photo, the other one is also ruined. So let's bring that back up. I think around 0 is pretty good. So I actually want to drop it a little bit. -1. Play with the highlights. That's definitely the bright spots there. I do want to check on this blue. Let me see if the blue, yeah, this blue is a little darker. So I'm going to actually select this photo, edit, turn off sync, because I just want to adjust maybe the exposure of this photo independently of the other. And I want to make sure that blue, if I go to luminance of blue, here we go. See, we can adjust the luminance of the blue colors. Make sure they're similar. So let's check it out. That's pretty close. This one's actually a little brighter now. Let's bring it back down a little bit. Maybe the saturation will also help a little bit, dull it out a little bit. By the way, if you press the letter N with 2 photos selected, it shows it in the survey mode. I love survey mode. Very easy to see 2 photos at once or multiple photos. Let's do a basic retouching step, which is dropping your texture to a negative value. I'll do like -30 or 40. And what that does is it smooths out the skin texture. If you go positive, don't do that. There we go. And the -30s. Clarity is nice for some pop, but don't get crazy because it gives that real crunchy look. The opposite gives kind of an old school like mall glamour portrait. So I do like a little pop, so I'm going to put it in the positive. Keep my vibrance up so that overall the photo is very saturated in a natural way. Drop the blacks just a little bit for some pop and some contrast. Let's do a before and after. Here's our backslash button. Oh yeah, nice. Other one, backslash, before, after. Much better. I like it. Let's check on our cropping and make sure your sync is turned off for this. So yeah, her head is not centered, so I'm going to center her head without cutting off her elbow. Beware of elbows. They're very tricky. Elbows are great for poses, but you got to make sure they stay in the frame and that it doesn't ruin your centering. There you go. Keep that headroom proportionate. Nice. Now we could totally white out the background if we wanted by doing an adjustment layer, selecting the background and just cranking up the exposure of the background, which makes it pure white. But I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. I kind of like it where it's at. It's sort of like a little bit of gray. Yeah, I'm not going to do that background, but that is a nice trick for those of you who do want and or need a pure white background, like for a magazine or something like that. Cool, a little shadow behind her is fine. I don't mind that shadow. So this one was already edited. Really wasn't anything crazy. I just think I dropped the saturation of the background blue. It was really strong. It was like that. And I did some negative texture on her face. I also painted negative texture. Let me show you how I did that. So I'm going to do the same edit to this one. First, I'm going to crop it in a little bit too much headroom there. Maybe we can get rid of this floor. Now I'll use Photoshop later to fix that. Just to extend that background down a little bit behind her. She's a little shadowy, a little bit too dark. So bring up our shadows. She's also very warm and yellow. So they're a little bit cooler on the temperature. Drop that texture. Sometimes on brown skin tones, the orange can be very intense, like it's just too orange, right? So you can actually drop that down a little bit. Don't go all the way because that really changes like what their skin tone looks like, because some people do have this type of brown in their skin. But I'm going to desaturate it just a hair so it's not distractingly orangey red in her face. There you go. I still want some life in her, but just got to keep everything in balance. Highlights are okay. There we go. Blacks down, whites up. Gives a little bit more natural contrast. Let's do it before and after. Yeah, just a nice subtle adjustment. Nothing crazy. And I think I will desaturate that blue a little bit. We could also drop it down if we want to make it darker, lighter. I'll do it just a little bit darker. Cool. On the previous photo of her, I actually painted with an adjustment brush. Here he is. By the way, K is adjustments. It'll bring up your adjustment brush directly, I think. It's just go straight to the brush. So I'm just going to paint over her skin. And then after this, I'm going to tell it what to do with this selected red area. So I'm trying to go over the eyes because we want texture in the eyes. Scroll down holding space bar. Make sure you get all the skin areas. Okay, if you overlap too much on something, just hold Alt, which changes it into the eraser mode. So you can undo if you got a little too sloppy there. So now that I have basically all her skin areas selected with the brushing, I can play with it. So I can, bring the exposure up or down of just her skin, which I don't want to do. Or I can drop the texture of just her skin, which is really handy. Awesome. So just the skin areas now have even more negative texture, and everything else in the photo is left alone. Awesome. Very handy trick. It's kind of a light retouching trick. I wouldn't say like that's done. And I'm not done with these photos right out of Lightroom. I'm going to go into Photoshop and do a little bit more detailed retouching with the clothes and skin blemishes and, of course, background touch-up. But Lightroom does about 80 to 90% of my work, and I love that. So all of these look the same. Awesome. They're taken with the same setup, same settings. So I like that because I can just batch edit them together. Save me some time. And they already look great. Like, I don't see anything that really stands out as bad. But I'm just going to make them a little bit better together. There we go. A little bit soft vignette to darken those edges. I'll do a batch background darken. So when you do this, this is using AI to find the background, which means it has to do every single photo individually. So see, there you go. Your edits were applied, but updating AI settings may take some time. So now it's doing photo 2, and then photo 3 is done. Okay, cool. So now I can drop that darkness to the background, and all the other photos will be similarly adjusted. Now look, this mask was not perfect. You can actually turn on overlay, and we can see it got part of the couch and part of her hair. Yeah, and some of the things over here. So to fix that, I'm going to turn off batch because I don't want to do this across all the other photos. We're going to do subtract brush. Now I can paint whatever areas I don't want to be included in the quote unquote background. And it cleans up my selection. So let's get back to the adjustment part. Yeah, just darken a little bit. Maybe drop the whites. Cool. So let's get out of masking. And then once we're out of masking, then we can press the letter N and look at them all together. Yeah, there we go. Background just popped down. And if, with some more time on my hands, I'd go through and check the background. I'm not going to do that right now. But that's a cool batch editing trick using the adjustment layers, or adjustment masks as they're called in Lightroom. These all look really nice in unison, a little flat and flashy. So I'm just going to drop some blacks, recover some of those highlights there. Soften skin. Her face is very red and orange. Just a lot of reds there. So we could either try and fix that with a white balance. Does part of it, and then my sync is not on. I'm gonna click on the big button and yes to all these settings. Synchronize. There we go. Now they're all on the same page. Turn my switch on. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, saturation orange down just a hair, like -10. You can do before and after of individual panels. Oh yeah, super subtle. But I think it's good. Drop the blues a little bit of soft vignetting with extra feather. Let's press the letter N to see all of them side by side. This first one's good. These are a little dark. These last 3 are a little too much darkness, too much dark. The blues are too low. Yeah, there we go. It's kind of an acid wash, like a light denim color, right? So We don't want them to be too light, too dark. That's better. A little texture in the background's nice. Yeah, brighter. Sure, it looks natural. Let's do these last. This one looks really dark already. I had the light a little too far off her front side. Whoopsie. I should have moved the light more to her front side to lessen these natural shadows that are happening because of the shape of her face. She's a podcaster, by the way. Her podcast is called She Speaks. Great podcast. I did an event for them a while back, or 5-year anniversary, and here I am. She came back. She liked me. That's what happens when you serve people well, make them feel important, and do what they need. They'll remember you for themselves, and they'll tell 10 other people about you. Maybe a little vignette to put some more focus on her. Yeah, oh, that looks great. A little vignette goes a long way. Don't get crazy like we did in the 90s, especially with this thing. Oh my gosh. Why did we do that? And just for some branding, I threw in this photo for free for her. Might be a cool little stock photo for her to use, you know. Make it pop. A little vignette. Nice. I should have included her shoes. She had some cool shoes, right? All right. These are passport photos. So I'm not trying to impress you with these. These are not glamour portraits. They literally said flat, no smiling, and no shadows. That's the rules they told me. So yeah, let's skip on those. Not terribly exciting. So this is a mother and daughter team. They wrote a book or 2 or 3 together. Do some basic adjustments here. Soften the skin. That's nice. Not too much. Skin tones look natural. She's a little dark on this side because the light was on the left. So, was my batch turned on? Yeah, it was. So I'm going to paint over mom. I'm going to press letter K. It goes right to adjustment brush. What a time saver. This used to be all we had. It used to only be in the adjustment brush. And the linear gradient. Yeah, that's perfect. Select and K. Size it down, paint over her, maybe a little bit on her arms. And bump up the exposure. Awesome. So full body headshot. You can see I used a grid. I had my light too close to the white, and it was gridding onto the white, which I will fix in Photoshop. Cool. Lots of crunch and contrast in this photo. Some nice side lighting on her. My key light, by the way, is a Godox AD200. I call it a mini strobe, and it's inside of a 34-inch, what is it? Easy Lock diffusing beauty dish. Love it. I use that thing inside, outside, all over the place. Actually, I have 2 of them. One for my LED light that I use for my videos, and another one for my flash. This one was a little dark. Awesome. Let's see if we can play with the luminance of the oranges. See how that looks on her. Oh yeah, it looks nice. Pretty natural. Add a little illumination just to the skin areas that had light on it already. All right, we got some blackout photos with black backdrop. This will be fixed in Photoshop over here. AI generative fill is really good at extending backdrop, ends. When your backdrop isn't big enough, super good. You select it and just generative fill it, and it almost always fills it in perfectly. Okay, I'm gonna apply that last edit to this one. So once it loads, right click, settings, paste from previous. Does everything the same, even the cropping. This one's great. It's just a little flashy and flat on Sonia over here on the right. So I'm gonna brush that down a little bit because mom looks fine. There we go. And just drop the exposure a little bit to try to match mom. There, that looks good. Before, after. Oh yeah. Cropping looks a little, yep, not perfect. All right, I'm gonna skip these and get to this photo. Oh my goodness, I love these photos. Like, I am so proud of how these turned out. I mean, it's mostly him. It's the same lighting setup I've been using for years and on other people in this photo shoot, but he just looks awesome, doesn't he? He just looks like a happy, wise guy. I wanna have coffee and talk with him for a few hours about the Bible. He's a real sweet dude. So I just love the contrast. His face has lots of contours and texture. That's all right. And I actually did edit these. I forgot. I couldn't help myself. I jumped ahead and edited these, and I didn't do anything crazy. So we just have some drop shadows to add to the darkness. We have some raised highlights to increase the shine and the glow on him. Some, negative blacks, raised clarity, drop texture, typical stuff you've already seen me doing. Here's something I did differently though. I dropped the vibrance down to the negative, which kind of does that skin fix that I did earlier with the saturation. His skin is the only color in the whole photo. But sometimes when you're going for this like crunchy, like gritty band photo, like this kind of thing, I don't know, I'm trying to copy it. Like this, the negative texture looks better than a bright, colorful photo. Let me undo that. I just ruined this photo. So negative vibrance is a nice touch to some dark and dramatic photos. So he looks awesome. And I basically did the same thing to his wife, although she is a little bright. I think I had my light closer to her perhaps, which gives a very different illumination. It doesn't make the light just brighter, but it focuses it smaller on a smaller hotspot. See her body down here is barely being illuminated by my light because it's so close to her. You're getting a little extra bonus lighting lesson in this video. You thought you were just coming to learn Lightroom, but you're learning lights in a room. Sorry, that's a bad joke. I couldn't help myself. Easy to remove that with content aware fill or AI generative fill. Same down here, this little tape. Yeah, super easy. This photo's not straight up and down. I feel like it's a little crooked. This is mom and dad and Sonia. They all have their own ministries. And mom and Sonia and her mother work together as well. Cool, yeah, this also just feels a little crooked to me. Let's do a similar thing. Drop the vibrance a little bit. Increase clarity, drop texture. I'm gonna drop shadows. I never drop shadows. I always raise shadows. So sometimes it's good to do the opposite of what you've always been doing. You'll never learn anything new if you keep doing the same thing over and over again. So sometimes I break my formula and I learn a thing or two. It's fun. Warmness looks good. Definitely have a lot of work to do on this in Photoshop. But it honestly won't take too long with generative fill. Oh, I wasn't syncing. Let's turn that on. Let's press in for survey. Yeah, they look the same. Awesome. All right, my friend Kashmir. I did headshots for her. She's beautiful. Love her skin and hair. Just gorgeous lady. And this exposures look great on these. Like really nice. I'm gonna edit all these 3 blue ones together. Raise these shadows a little bit. Really makes her hair stand out. All the texture in her hair. Look at this. This really stands out when you do that. Don't go crazy, but because of that HDRI look, Her white shirt is well exposed when I drop the highlights because up here it's just pure white. So restoring a little bit of the shirt texture. I may actually paint a softer texture on her shirt because it's a little much. There's a lot of texture happening down here on this shirt. It's a cool shirt. It just really shows with my lighting. See what we can do with saturation of blues. Kind of like that dull blue for her. Less distracting, and it makes her pants and skin tones look great. There's always a little red in the lips and in some of the skin areas too. Very subtle. I do feel like her skin is a little oversaturated though. I'm gonna drop it just till hair. Nice. Ooh, they look good. Cropping's a little off on this one, I can already tell. Turn off my sync. Look at that. You get an eye for cropping the more you do it. Ah, man, the elbow. It's one of those times where I didn't shoot tall enough or I didn't have her elbows in close enough. Can't win them all. These two have the same lighting setup and probably the same settings. Oh, sync was off. Turn it back on. Turn the switch on. There we go. These glasses are great. Hardly any glare, like just the tiniest green spot there is nothing. I'm going to turn off sync, press K, and I'm going to paint some negative clarity on her skin. So take off some of that natural skin texture that I'm already enhancing because of the way I'm editing the photo. I did Kashmir's wedding, I think a year ago. It's fun being diversified because you can serve people in all the different stages of their life. They have a kid. Hey, I do newborns. Kid graduates, I do that. You need headshots for your business, I do that. You need video ads for your business, your side hustle, I got you covered. It's not for everybody, but for me, I love it. See the same painting trick over here. So I just selected it and pressed K. Make sure your sync is turned off when you do this, or it'll paint the exact same stuff on all the photos. Doesn't have to be exact. Beautiful. This one, man, it's a little dull. Maybe, oh, never mind. The settings kicked in. Awesome. My lighting for these was all over the place. This was hard because there is some intense sunlight coming through here. And look, it's literally casting rainbow lights onto her. I love this pose and shot, but I wasn't sure if I can fix that. I think I can fix that in Photoshop. If I paint in a certain way, you can recolor things. So yeah, I'll do that later. Let's see what we can do to this photo here though. It's a little yellow. There we go. Before and after. Sometimes in luminance, I like to just go all the way to the right to see what sections of the photo are being controlled, and then I will adjust to taste, as they say. Getting better. All right, nice. This one has a lot of contrast. Make sure the skin tones are good. I'll smooth out that line on her blouse there. Yeah, any facial blemishes they want removed, I will be doing that in Photoshop. I prefer to use Photoshop's spot healing brush and clone stamp tool versus Lightroom's version of those, because I just feel like they're not as accurate or easy to work with. They're a little clunkier and different. She looks a little orange. There we go. There we go. That's nice. Adds a little bit more luminance to her skin. Her eyes are a little dark, so I'm just going to paint a little blob onto each eye. Blob and blob. Just turn up the exposure a little bit. Don't go like this, where she looks like she's that guy from Stargate. Just a little bit of a glow. And with brown eyes, they're destined to look darker, so it's just how it is. I have brown eyes myself. There we go. It's a very powerful, confident pose. Something fun to do with women, as it's not a typical pose you get with, feminine headshots, but I like to get some variety. There we go. Nice. I'm going to apply the same settings from that previous one, except for the crop. I think I will keep this one as a medium shot. There we go. Her pants are a little poofy down here. I'll just fix that with Photoshop. A few little brushing maybe. We'll see if we can smooth that out. And I think in Photoshop, I will change this blue to something else. Maybe like a pale green, I think would be cool. Drop that texture. Oh, my sync isn't on again because I keep doing the brush thing. So you can see how quick it can be to edit your sessions if your lighting and photos are done decently. Now, I'm not saying this is the best work, right? Like, I'm doing my best here, but I know it's not the best. But as you get better with Flash, your photos will need less editing, and that's a great feeling, because I remember experiencing that when I started getting more comfortable with off-camera Flash. My photos looked how I wanted them to look in camera, instead of me going in Photoshop and adding light here and adding shadow there. They just popped in the right way. Cool. Let's try a little cooler temperature there. Yeah. Effect, a little bit of vignette. Nah, I like the bright background. Great. Well, that is a quick and dirty run through of my basic edits that I do in Lightroom, and how I kind of handle batching to get through photos quicker. I may do some more fine tuning before exporting these, after which I will be photoshopping those finished JPEGs and doing the retouching and background cleanup and things like that. And then they'll most likely be ready to deliver. So that's how I do it. If you have any questions, ask in the comments down below. If I said anything backwards or mixed it up, it happens. I'm sorry. Just ask and I'll clarify in the comments. But thanks for watching. Have a great week.